All right, we are going to pick up where we left off. We've been talking about percents, and we are going to now talk about the percent equation today. We've talked about percents for the last, I want to say 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, and we're going to continue with that theme. We've been talking about what that is. Percent means out of 100, right? There are 100 cents in a dollar. That's why we get the word cent. It's actually from French, but it means 100. So that's why there are 100 cents in a dollar, because the word cent means 100. So percent means per 100. So continuing on that theme and on that topic, let's get started, and I will go ahead and kick us off here with their video.
How are percent problems related to proportional reasoning? Think about this question during the lesson. In science class, students compared their vertical reach and height to see if they are proportional. Maria is 60 inches tall and can reach 75 inches high. What percent of her total vertical reach is her height? First, let's use our data to make a bar diagram. Then we can use proportional reasoning to develop the percent equation. Maria's vertical reach will be the whole. It is 100%. Her height will be the part. So, how do you know which quantity is the whole and which is the part in this situation? The problem asks what percent height is of the vertical reach, so height is a part of the vertical reach. Now we can use the bar diagram to develop the percent equation.
Yeah, it's really important on these, if it's a word problem that's asking you what percent of this is this, it's really important to pay attention to what order that is, right? And they're saying, it asked us what percent of the reach is the height, okay? So we know that reach is the whole, and we know that height is the part, right? We got to know the order. We got to know what's asking us. So that's what they did. They made these diagrams. The vertical reach is the whole. They told us what those measurements were. I think they were 60 inches and 75 inches. So here's what they're going to do.
The ratio P to 100 is equivalent to part to whole. Since percent is a ratio to 100, we can write part to whole is equal to percent. If we multiply both sides of the equation by the quantity, whole, we get a useful equation where part is equal to percent times whole. How is this equation similar to a proportion?
So we're thinking about proportional relationships, right? If we have a ratio of something is 3 times bigger, right? You're literally saying 3 times this is this, right? So it's the same deal with percent. You can see the times. The dot represents the same thing as an X for times or multiply, right? So if we're doing the kind of the opposite of the opposite numbers of a proportion, but we're doing the same operation, right? In this case, we're multiplying the percent times the whole to get the part, right? 70% of 100 equals 70. In the case of a proportion, we would multiply 3 times the part equals the whole, right? But it's the same basic idea. So I liked what they said, and I'm going to back this up just a second here to this right here. Part over whole is percent. Part over whole equals percent. That, in my opinion, is the most important thing to learn. Okay, it's the most important thing to learn in percent. Part divided by whole equals percent, right? So we've been working on those a little bit in our Savas and in our Delta Math, where it asks you 61 is what percent of 90. So it gives you the two numbers. The part is 61 and the whole is 90. And all you have to do is do 61 divided by 90. And that, of course, gives you a decimal, which you then have to make into a percent. We've talked about to make a decimal into a percent, we have to move the decimal point 2 spots to the right. To make a percent into a decimal, we move the decimal 2 spots to the left, right? All we're doing is moving the decimal point 2 spots one way or the other, right? From percent to decimal, we go to the left. From decimal to percent, we go to the right. And we've talked about the fact that if you have 0.61, you can just look at that and know that that's the same thing as 61%, right? We can know, if I say what's 0.61, we can know that that's 61%, right? Here's the decimal point, because all we're doing is moving the decimal place 2 spots to the right. And it's now 61.0, or just 61. If we look at 72%, we know that that is the same thing as 0.72, because all we did was, this would be 72.0, right? So all we did was move the decimal place right here, right here, and then put a 0 in front to become 0.72. We know that. We've talked about that last week. So that is review. And it unshared me, didn't it? Because of course it did. Let's redo that.
Apply both sides of the equation.
All right, let's just go to where we left off.
The percent is a constant of proportionality that relates a part to the whole. The equation has the same form as the proportion y equals m times x. The part is like y, the whole is like x, and the percent is like m, the constant of proportionality that relates the two quantities. Now that we have an equation, substitute the quantities in this problem situation. So height is equal to percent times vertical reach.
Right? That's what we were just saying. The vertical reach is the total. So percent of the total equals the part. Let's try this on our own. The percent equation is related to the definition of percent. Drag the slider to see the steps. All right, let's drag the slider to see the steps. I think this is going to be just what they did on the video. We know the part over a whole is the same as P over 100. Anything over 100, anything per 100 is percent, right? That's where we get the word percent. Whoa, I went 2 spaces. There we go. So we are manipulating the equation here. If we have part divided by whole, so if we multiply by whole, we cancel out those wholes. So we have part equals percent times whole. Right? They cancel each other out. Whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other side. You've probably already got used to me saying that by now, right? Whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other side. So we have part equals percent times whole. So then we substitute what we know. We know the part is the height and the whole is the vertical reach. So if it's asking you, what is 61% of 80? We put in 61 for this purple percent, and 80 would be the total. So we would put in 80 for the whole, and we would just do 0.61 times 80, or 61 divided by 100 times 80. Again, dividing by 100 is the same as percent. Dividing by 100 would give you a decimal of 0.61 for 61%. All right.
We can use the data we know to solve the percent equation. Maria's height is 60 inches, which is equal to percent, or P, times Maria's vertical reach of 75 inches. Use inverse operations to solve for P. 60/75 is equal to p times 75 over 75. So 80/100 is equal to p. How do you write 80/100 as a percent?
Well, we know this.
Select your answer.
Okay, so they did this 60 over 75, right? Again, it's asking you her height is what percent of her vertical reach. So 60 over 75, part divided by a whole, is the percent. Or in this case, it's the decimal. The part divided by whole will give you the decimal, right? And we need to make that a percent. So in order to make a decimal percent, we must move the decimal place 2 spots over. So 0.80 is not the same as 0.80%. This is wrong. It is not the same as 8%. That's wrong. If we move this decimal 2 spaces, 1, 2, it is 80%.
To represent the decimal as a percent, multiply by 100 and add the percent symbol. Maria's height is 80% of her total vertical reach. Now you have an equation to use proportional reasoning when solving percent problems.
There you go. Like they said multiply this decimal by 100, but multiplying by 100 is exactly the same as moving the decimal 2 spots to the right. That's literally what you are doing when you multiply by 100. So it's 80%. All right, let's go on. An elephant weighs 15,000 pounds on Earth and 2,500 pounds on the moon. Assuming the weights are proportional, what percent of its weight on Earth is its weight on the moon? Okay, we know that the moon is smaller than Earth, right? The moon is smaller than Earth. Therefore, it has less gravity. The bigger an object is, the more mass an object has, the more gravitational pull it produces, right? The sun is so big that its gravity has kind of attracted and retained all of the planets in the solar system. The sun is so big and has so much gravity that it can hold entire planets in orbit, right? So the sun is much, much bigger than the Earth or any other planets, right? The Earth is much, much bigger than the moon. It's just the same as on the other planets, right? The moons are much, much smaller than the planet, right? Jupiter is huge. It's the biggest planet we have in the solar system. Jupiter's gravity is actually big enough that it has, I think, 7 or 8 moons. I don't remember off the top of my head. You should ask Mr. Puri when you go to his class. I think it's 7, maybe 8 moons, okay? Because Jupiter is much, much larger than Earth. It has more gravity. It has more mass, so it has more gravity. Anyways, because the Earth has more gravity than the moon, things weigh more on Earth, right? You're the same person. You have the same mass, you have the same number of cells, you have the same number of atoms and molecules, but there is less pull down towards the ground on the moon because the moon is smaller, right? So they've measured this and they know what the proportion is. They're asking us to find it, okay? They've never taken an elephant to the moon, obviously, so this is kind of hypothetical, but they have taken people to the moon and they have taken all kinds of objects and telemetry and data gathering tools that take metrics and measure the gravity of the Earth. They've also, one of the astronauts that was on the moon hit a golf ball. And since the gravity is a lot less, the golf ball flew a lot further, right? The guy hit, the best golfers in the world in the PGA Tour can drive the ball about 400 yards, 380 to 400 yards off the tee. The astronaut on the moon hit a golf ball like 4 or 5 times that length. Obviously, he's in a big spacesuit, so he couldn't really get a good swing, but he still hit a golf ball further than, like much, much further than the best golfers can do on Earth, right? Because there's not as much gravity. Now let's figure out how much. Let's figure out the percent of gravity on the moon as opposed to Earth. So it's telling us the elephant weighs 2,500 pounds on the moon. 2,500 pounds on the moon equals the percent, that's what we're trying to find, of 15,000. What percent of 15,000 is 2,500? That's what it's asking us. 2,500 is means equals what percent of means times 15,000. 2,500 is what percent of 15,000? That is literally how you can read that problem. So what we need to do is divide both sides by 15,000. I'm going to make my pen a little bit skinnier so I can do this better. Right, that's going to cancel out the 15,000s, and you still have your 2,500 over here. So our percent is equal to part divided by whole, right? And if you, once you get good at this, you'll be able to skip this step right here with the canceling out and everything. And you'll just be able to look at this and say, okay, part, whole. I need to do part over whole. 2,500 is the part and 15,000 is the whole, which is what we got right here, right? So all we need to do is bring up the calculator. 2,500 divided by 15,000 will give us the correct answer. We can do that here in Savas by using the Desmos scientific calculator. $2,500 divided by 15,000. We get this 0.1666666666667. That's a repeating decimal, and the calculator rounded it off at the end, right? Because it ran out of space. So we get, let's write this on our whiteboard. 0.166666667. Something like that, right? Sorry, I'm having some glitchiness here. All right, now we're back. So this was 0 point, sorry, let me clear this out. 0.1666667, right? We want to round it off. So I'm going to round it off to, let's round it off to the third number. So I'm going to look at the fourth number, right? 6 is 5 or more, so that means raise the score of this number. Let's say 0.167. Now, if I want to make a decimal of percent, I have to move it 2 spots to the right, 1, 2, which means my percent is 16.7%. 16.7%. So that means the elephant weighs 16.7% of its total weight on Earth on the moon, but it also means everything. That's going to be proportional. Everything is going to weigh just 16.7% of what it weighs on Earth. The moon has 16.7% of the Earth's gravity. It has a lot less gravity, right? It has, I don't know, what would that be? About 1/6. I think that's that fraction. 1/6, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yes, right? 1/6 is this same decimal. 0.16 repeating. So things on the moon have 1/6 the weight of things on Earth. That's how that works. Make sense? Questions, comments, concerns, issues? All right, let's keep going. This is finding the part. So it's going to give us the percent and it's going to give us the whole. And we need to find the part. Many states have a meal tax that is proportional to the total spent on food and beverage. In one state, the meal tax is $8.44. That's, sorry, not 8.44, 8.44%, which is really high. But I don't live in that state. Maybe hopefully that's not in addition to sales tax. Because the sales tax here is 7.8%. Hopefully that's just a tax on meals, like a sales tax. Because if that's addition to the sales tax, then we're looking at like 16% tax, which is crazy. Only California would do that. Only California would tax you that much. How much will a customer pay if the food and beverages total $54? So it gives us the percent and the total. $54 was the bill. Or sorry. Yeah, $54 is the bill. Tax percent bill. Oh, yeah. So $54 and it's going to go there. So we need to make this percent into a decimal. So it's not this one. We have to move the decimal point 2 spots over to the left, right? We have to make a percent into a decimal. We're going to go 2 spots left. So the bill times 0.0844 equals the tax. So let's find out what that's going to be. Our tax is 8.44. Tax equals 8.44% of the bill. And so the tax equals 0.0844 of the bill was $54, right? Yes, $54. So all we need to do now is do this math. 0.0844 of 54. It's asking us, what is 8.44% of 54? And we know that of means times, right? So let's do that. 0.0844 of $54. The tax is $455.76. Uh-oh. Can we have more than 2 numbers in cents? Can you have 0.5576? No, you cannot. We're going to have to round because we only need 2 numbers in cents. We can only have 2 numbers in cents. So we need to look at this third number. It is a 7, which is 5 or more raise the score. So that means this number is going to go up 1. So our final answer is going to be $4.56. That will be the tax that will be added onto the bill. And that's how they calculate sales tax, right? When your bill is done, they have what's called a subtotal, and then they have a tax that's added based on the percent of the subtotal, right? And I'm sure you all have seen that on a receipt, but I could go look one up here. Let's look one up for the heck of it. So you look at, which is a good one here. Aha. Here's a receipt from Home Depot. Oh, let's do this one. This one's even better. Here you go. At the bottom, it says subtotal $33.95. And then it says standard tax 6.35%, right? They have a 6.35% sales tax. So what they did is the cash register automatically calculates this sales tax, but what they do is $33.95 was the total of the things you bought, and then they multiply that times 0.0635 because that is the same as 6.35% equals, and again, it's 215.5, so that's 5 or more raised the score, so it rounded it up to 216, and that is the amount you see right here. And then it adds that to the total, and or it adds that to the subtotal, and that ends up being the total amount you must pay. You have to pay for what you bought, and you also have to pay a 6.35% sales tax. Sales tax. That's how they do that. And you can see, here's another receipt here from Home Depot. Someone bought a power tool of some sort. And then they also got a Dr. Pepper and a lemonade on the side. So they bought a couple drinks to drink while they're working on their project here. So they spent $194.91. The sales tax was $17.85. So if we wanted to find what percent the sales tax was of the price, we would do $17.95 divided by $194.91. Sales tax in, that's a pretty hefty sales tax. Arizona's got a high sales tax, 0.092. That is 9.2%. 9.2% sales tax in Flagstaff, Arizona. That's hefty. Pretty hefty. Ours is 7.8. A lot of places around Ohio is 7.0. You go out to California or you go to New York City, it's probably going to be close to 10. Very high taxes in those areas. Very high taxes in general. Income tax, property tax, sales tax, you name it. They find a way to get your money. I'll click over to the next one here. We found out what this was, right? So let's skip over to the next one. It's $4.56 is going to be the sales tax that we add to this bill. Let's look at another one. Yeah, that's what they got. Same answer we got. 4.5576, which rounds up to $4.56. You cannot have 76.76 of a penny. There's no such thing. There's no fractional cents. All right, let's go on to 3.3, example 3. Jane earns a 5.5% commission on the selling price of each home she sells. And again, a lot of salespeople earn a commission as a bonus for selling things, right? A lot of times people in sales, they don't get paid a very big salary because they don't want people to get complacent and just be like, yeah, whatever, I don't have to sell anything, I'll still get paid. So her job, her commission is tied to her actually selling things. And she's a real estate agent. She's trying to sell a house, right? And when you hire a real estate agent, you hire them to sell the house. You don't just hire them to sit there and do nothing. You hire them to sell your house. So you say, hey, when you sell my house, I will give you 5.5% of the profit or 5.5% of the sale price, right? That's how real estate agents get paid. So she earned $9,020 in commission on the sale of a home. What was the selling price? So gives us the percent and it gives us the part. So we need to find out what the whole is. Let's go to the Jamboard and try to figure this out. We know that percent equals part over whole. One other way to say that would be percent times whole equals part. That's what we were just looking at in the video, right? Percent times whole. Sorry about my terrible handwriting. My touch screen is not so responsive apparently today. Percent of the whole is the part. Percent of whole equals part. So it gives us the percent. The percent is, am I presenting? Yes. The percent is 5.5. And the whole is, we don't know, but the part is 9,020, I believe, right? Yep. So we need to convert this into a decimal, which means we got to move 2 spots over and fill in a 0. 0.055. Man, this thing is not doing so hot today. Let's make it a different color. 0.055 times the whole equals the part. So all we need to do now is divide both sides by 0.055. Obviously, the 0.55 on the top and on the bottom cancel each other out. So this right here is going to give us our answer. We just need to put that into a calculator here. That's a tough one. No need to spend 2 or 3 minutes dividing that out. 0.055. Oh, I did this in backwards order. Duh. It's 9,020 divided by 0.055, which is the same as 5.5%. So the selling price of the house was $164,000. Which seems reasonable, right? If we had got, again, it's a good idea to check and think about what you know about the price of houses and see if your answer makes sense. If we had got an answer that said 16,400,000, I mean, that could be possible. She could be selling like a movie star's house, but that's not likely, right? $164,000 is the price of a regular average ordinary house in Cincinnati. That seems reasonable, right? That's probably about the price you could pay to buy a house. It's not going to be the most fancy house on the block. It's not going to be a mansion. It's going to be a regular old house, right? So it seems reasonable that $164,000 would be the price of the house. Now, when the buyer pays that $164,000 for the house, or the mortgage company, more than likely, because nobody usually has this much money sitting around, when the mortgage company cuts a check for $164,000, the seller of the house is going to turn around and cut a check to the realtor for $9,000 as payment for their services for advertising. They put out those magazines and they put out those flyers and they put out signs and they have open houses and all that. That is payment. The $9,000 is payment for the advertising and marketing and the sale of the house. So they would get to keep about $155,000. I have no idea if 5.5% is the actual commission that most realtors earn, but if it is, I should have been a realtor, because that's not bad. Just kidding. I love you guys. I love teaching. let's go to the next example. Oh, let's click over here. All right, we set this up as they did the exact same thing I did. Part equals percent times whole. They divided both sides by the percent, and they got $164,000. Good. Okay. Let's try this one. Let's try this last one here. To make a profit, a clothing store sells board shorts at 115% of the amount they paid for them. How much did the store pay for the board shorts shown? So that's how stores make money, right? Stores can't make money if they sell stuff without making a profit, right? Kroger, the grocery store, Kroger, does not sell food for the exact same price they get it, right? The farmer sells Kroger milk at 50 cents a gallon, right? Except Kroger buys a whole tank truck full of milk, a whole refrigerated truck full of milk. We cannot afford, the average person cannot afford to buy a whole tank truck of milk, much less store it, because eventually it goes bad. Even if you keep it in the fridge, it goes bad after a week or two, right? So Kroger says, we will buy a whole tank truck, thousands of gallons of milk from you, Mr. Farmer, for 50 cents a gallon. And the farmer says, you got yourself a deal, right? 5,000 gallons at 50 cents a gallon is $2,500. He's like, absolutely, I'll take $2,500 for all the milk that my cows made this week. Count me in, right? So then Kroger trucks it to their factory, puts it in jars or jugs. And I don't use jars for milk. You put them in jugs, right? And then Kroger marks them up. They paid 50 cents a gallon. Now they mark it up to $1.10. That's how they pay their rent on the store, the electric bill. That's how they pay their employees who stock the shelves, their cashiers who check you out, right? They have to mark it up in order to be able to pay their employees and their bills and make a profit. That's why you run a business. You run a business to make a profit. You don't run a business to give stuff away for free, right? So they want to make money too. The guy who owns the company, it used to be, his name was Kroger. Now it's a publicly traded company that wants to make money for shareholders, right? They want to make money. That's what they're in business to do. So they mark it up. And we're looking at 115% markup on this pair of board shorts. So this is the price tag of the shorts on the shelf in the store. So $28 is the final price. So what it's asking us is $28 equals 115% of what? We'll say P, price. Okay. What was the price they paid for them? Maybe this is, I don't know, what's a brand of surfing stuff? Hurley. Okay, maybe they called Hurley and they said, we want to order 20 pairs of shorts and we're going to sell them in our store, right? So give us 20 pairs of swim trunks and ship them to our store. How much do we owe you? If they charge $28 and the markup is a 115, what we need to do is we need to divide both sides. Well, first off, I'll tell you what we're going to do is, first off, we're going to convert 115 into a decimal. So we're going to move it 2 spots to the left. So we have 28 equals 1.15 times P. Last step, in order to isolate the variable, we must divide by both sides, right? The 1.15s here will cancel. Whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other side. So our answer is going to be whatever this is, 28 divided by 1.15. which equals 2434.7. Okay, so we're rounding off to two decimals because we need dollars and cents here. A 7 is 5 or more, so we're going to raise the score. So we're going to make this 4 a 5. That's going to become a 5. It's going to be rounded up. So the store gets them from Hurley for $24.35, and they sell them for $28. They make a profit in order to pay their rent and pay their bills and pay their employees. In reality, stuff like this is marked up a lot more than 115%, right? You go into a store and you buy a $28 pair of swim trunks. They probably got it from the company for like $10, and they're selling it for 28 because it's expensive to run a business, right? You have all kinds of bills. You have to pay employees, pay for their health care benefits, pay for the electric, pay for the, whatever, pay for the space you rent in the mall, blah, blah, blah. So you might think that's a bad deal. You might think you're getting ripped off because it's a $10 pair of shorts that's for $28, but you can't afford to order hundreds of these at a time, right? Hurley can call up, or the store can call up Hurley and say, I want to order 200 of these pairs of shorts. So Hurley will give them a deal on it. Hurley says, okay, if you order 200, that's going to make us lots of money. So we'll give you a deal. We'll give you them for $10 a pair, right? They don't give deals like that if you just buy one. That's why sometimes when you go to the store, it says 3 for 12, right? If you're going to buy some soda, you're going to buy some Coke or Mountain Dew or whatever, it'll say 3 for 12. So they'll give you 3 packs for $12. That's $4 a pack. If you buy just one, they will sell it to you for $5.99. They won't sell it to you for $4. They sell it to you for $5.99. All right, sorry about that. I just had a phone call come in. But we're back. Let's go on to one more of these percent problems here. And that will pretty much do it for lesson 3.3. Okay, we've already done one similar to this. Many states have a meal tax that's proportional to the total spent on food and beverage. In one state, the meal tax is 6.26%. Very similar to what we just saw in the state of Connecticut, right? Ohio's, it varies by county. Hamilton County, where we live, it's 7.8. Most of the rest of the state, it's 7.0. But how much will tax? Here we go. How much tax will a customer pay if the food and beverages total is $25? All right, so Jamboard, here we go. The meal tax is 6.26%. How much tax will the customer pay if it's $25? So it's literally asking us 6.26% of $25 is what? 6.26% of $25 is what? Right? Of means times, and is means equals. So all we have to do here is we need to make this percent into a decimal. Let's shift it over 2 spots. Fill in the 0 and put the point here. 0.0626 of 25 equals, well, what does that equal? Let's see. $1.565. Well, can we have $0.565? Of course not. We know that dollars only needs 2 numbers, so we're going to look at this number to see whether we round up or not. 5 is 5 or more, so we are going to raise the score of this 6, and the tax would be $1.57, right? So my $25 meal is going to have $1.57 added to it. That's the subtotal. That's the tax. So my total would be $26.57. Right? $26.57. That's my subtotal. That's the amount of food I bought plus my tax, $26.57. And that's how it's done. That's why you see what you see on a receipt. And many times it will tell you the tax was 6.26%. We'll say subtotal 25, tax 6.26% equals $1.57, total $26.57. Pay up. All right. Questions over this? Any questions? Is it making sense? All right. I am going to stop the recording and we will spend the rest of this time working on some work.